All right. Thank you, Russell, for joining me today.
Hell of an
I
intro.
really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So let's dive just straight into it, I would say.
Sure.
So you grew up in Perth, very close to the ocean. What do you remember most of that time growing up here? And what do you think how important it was to grow up in an environment like that?
Well, it wasn't just living like we're now sort of walking on the ocean. So I felt like I was a million miles from nature. I was living in a real small suburban area, inland.
Yeah.
But I would come to the beach every day that I possibly could, and mostly in the evenings I'd come after work and just get in the water and try and boogie board or catch a wave.
Yeah.
And I just feel that became a part of my absolute essence from that time.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to come to the ocean from inland to here?
It only took about 45 minutes. So now I live in the big wide world. You take a 3-hour flight and that's nothing, but it felt like forever.
Yeah.
And then there was the logistics of getting some transport and getting a car.
Especially in Perth.
Exactly. So it wasn't, it felt like a journey.
Yeah.
But it was worth it every time.
Yeah. And so what do you say, how did photography come into your world? Was it a clear decision from the very beginning or something that slowly pulled you in?
It was something that kind of happened to me. I had absolutely nothing, no contact with photography as a kid. I can't say that I just found photography and knew that's what I wanted to do. I wish I had just, found a camera when I was a kid and I was like one of the musicians that they knew. I had no idea. My only exposure to photography was my dad was a detective. So he had to do all the crime scene collection, which meant all little plastic bags, and he had a camera, an old camera. So I was quite fascinated with that camera.
Yeah.
Of course, the photos that I saw him make on it were very different to the ones I'd ultimately make. But that was my very first exposure.
Yeah.
And exposure, good word, camera. Yeah. So.
Ding.
Yeah. It was very. But I didn't have that moment until much later in my life where I figured out camera was what I was supposed to do.
Yeah. How old were you?
I think I had many lives before
spiritually?
Spiritually
or on
and
earth?
Practically, yeah.
Okay.
And I was a metal worker, was a cop for 5 years. And, that's where I saw cameras again.
Yeah.
But when I was about 28, I went to Japan on an extended holiday, and that's where I was like, oh my gosh, there's this thing called photography. I went to stay in Sweden and ended up living there for some time, and that's where I think I was around 29 years of age, where I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So I started to work in studio with photographers that would let me be in there for any given time, and that's when I sort of realized the problem I had, though, is from the time I realized I wanted to do it, it was about 6 years before I made a single dollar actually doing it. So many lives to keep the economy going in order to get a camera, get the film, do the shoots.
Yeah. So what do you think, if you wouldn't be a photographer, what do you think you would be doing instead?
Well, I did a lot of wandering. I think I'd be a sailor. A sailor being... I lived on a boat for a period of my life, and a sailboat, and I'm obsessed. It's probably the thing that I'm as obsessed as photography with. And it's just being on the water and being on a boat. But when I say being on the water, I really love sailing, really quiet, really, the adventure of getting to the place.
Yeah. So with presence now, because this series is called, this is Presence, the non-negotiable behind every success story. What are the things you truly never skip on an everyday life? Doesn't matter how busy, intense, unpredictable the day is. Are there any practices you do, like meditation, going for a walk, sitting in stillness, going in the water, whatever it is?
My presence practice is every day.
Yes.
So you don't always have the privilege of being near the water. I mean, wish I did, but sometimes you're in a city. For me, it's as boring as it sounds. It's some basic exercises. One of them for me is handstands.
Yeah.
They just being upside down really helps me. here's my first practice. I drink a massive amount of water when I wake up. I drink nearly a litre of water.
Clean your body.
Yeah, and just gets somehow, the doctor told me once, it gets your blood pressure up. That gets me, and then I like to try and do handstands, push-ups, sit-ups, and then if I can walk just pure walking, I find to be, for me, the most meditative practice of all, just to actually go wherever it may be, through a city, on a beach.
Movement meditation.
Yeah, movement, yeah.
So, have you noticed over time, when you consistently practice those presence practices, like doing the handstands, walking, that it actually resets you and that you get more clear-minded and focused in your work, but also in your everyday life? So whatever decisions you make, that it's very, very important you do those.
Yeah, huge. The more I find if I don't do it, it changes my whole day. And honestly, the times when I need it most is when the time to do it least. When I'm stressed, when I'm going, I'm like, I don't have time. And that's the times where if I make myself do it, the payoff is huge. It just resets you, calms you. So yeah, it's essential.
Yeah, totally. And how would you describe what presence means to you personally in photography, but also how important it is in your work?
So presence in photography, that's a very interesting question. So for me, that's really about, in production, it's usually chaos.
Yeah.
It starts with, you've got a client that's got usually a lot of money, they've got expensive talent on set, so they've got a lot of stress. You've got people, hair, makeup, photo crew, studios, noise. So I think something I learned from actually being a cop was just stay calm in the moment. And I really put myself in. Sometimes I get really small when I'm taking the picture, so I can try to connect just with the person in all the chaos, like literally block everything out. Sometimes you'll have 10 people, but sometimes you'll have 30 if you're doing a film, and sometimes more. And it's just a lot. So my presence comes from trying to connect with the person that I'm photographing. That really helps, and to do that, I go in and talk to them and I'll ask her a question. And it can be as basic as how you're feeling, or, kids, family, life. And a part of that presence for me is, as we're talking now, the huge difference when there's a lot of people, if you move into a slightly tighter space, people feel first a little uncomfortable and then they relax and then they're talking to you. That's part of my presence too. It's like I try to cut all the nonsense out.
Yeah, because you recently posted something saying you always try to catch the moment just before the camera. You try to catch those moments just before?
Everyone's got their baggage, so they bring their anxiety to set, and then there's a lot of pressure just, being in there, being photographed, for example, you're the one. So you're right, I try to, in terms of presence, I try to find that present moment in between the shots or before, when they're not trying to be someone or trying to project something. It's just like you find those moments, and that's the important thing, is ready to take that shot. Sometimes you have the shot before you start.
You've worked with some of the most recognized models, performers, high-profile people in the world. You name it, like Gigi Hadid, Heidi Klum, Richard Branson. This also includes major fashion productions, global campaigns, environments like Germany's Next Topmodel with Heidi Klum. I say it like this because I always watched it back home. And the Victoria's Secret world.
Yes.
So tell us, what are the most memorable behind-the-scenes moments from working with those kind of names and productions? What are the moments people never see in the final image?
That's a big question.
I know.
It's like, people often ask, how long does it take to make, one great image? I'm like, about 1/100th of a second, but it's everything that happens before that takes a long time.
Is there something which you would say is very memorable? Like you say, okay, you have someone who's very present or like super nervous and you calm them down.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had people come on a swim shoot that had aquaphobia.
Yes.
I didn't know it. They've been terrified of the water. I'm like, can you stand there? Like, I can't stand too close to the water. Literally on a Victoria's Secret swim shoot, and the model would never say no to the shoot. And then when they get down, they're like, I have to tell you, I'm terrified of the water.
Yes.
There's a joke in the industry, if you call an agent, model agent, and say, do you have anyone that can skydive? Like, do I have anyone that can skydive? Oh my gosh. Every one of them skydives. Like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So you get them. So I'd say memorable moments. People, I would say interesting for me. It's people like at the top level.
Yeah.
For example, Barbara Streisand, who I consider to be just absolutely amazing. But I watch her like everybody else. You know, she has a lot of pre-production anxiety. I mean, she's so professional, she can channel it, but I see it. You know, it's there.
Yeah.
So I think first thing I identify is no matter how experienced you are or you aren't, you're going to have some form of probably anxiety and stress. So there's a whole management thing that comes into it. Sometimes it's about connecting with the person.
Yeah.
And then you've got other things like I plan things very meticulously, but I also learned pretty early on to throw the plan out the window and go with the flow, because you'll often have to. You know, for example, we're shooting underwater, we're ready to shoot and we catch, you know, terrible weather.
Yeah.
We plan to have dolphins and fish around and shark came around. You know, and then you're like, okay, so what do we do here? Kendall Jenner is probably the most successful model ever.
Yeah.
So something that I noticed when I was first shooting her, it's about understanding the people, and that's what I love about photography. It gives you just a time to get to know someone. It's an excuse to be personal and to be close. Like, we've got the same objective for this time, and in that process, you kind of let go, and you can have a really great positive exchange.
Yeah.
And you can battle to get through it as well.
Yeah.
You know, people are so caught up. But I remember with Kendall, we talked about this moment before that you try to get. And I really couldn't get it with her. I felt like every time my camera was on her, she was camera ready. And the camera ready came with the perception of what you think want to be projected, and you want to catch the person. So sometimes you have to reverse engineer things. For me, the breakthrough was after several shoots, I was like, you know, I got to remember this kid grew up in front of a camera, just as a part of her life. You know, one of the most successful television shows ever. And it was a reality show, and it's in your life. So you're just somewhere in her, you know, it's almost in her makeup, how she's raised. It's like, I'm ready. So we had to have a conversation, and I said, how could it be that you let that go so I can see you?
Yeah.
And we'd talk, and while we were talking, then I started taking the pictures. So whilst we're in those moments, and I was like, oh, now I see her. So I think for me, what's happening behind the scenes is I'm trying to figure out how to see somebody, how to actually get that glimpse, because we all give it up at some point and just be who we are.
That's beautiful.
But sometimes you get it.
It's like a little psychologist as well. You are the person they can talk to.
The camera for me is an excuse to talk to people. I am actually socially very awkward. If I was, you know, if I was in a bar or a club, I was that kind of, you know, awkward. You're like, well, you know, if I'm going to go, then I was definitely that person. So the camera was where I had confidence about what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I finally had a reason to talk and say, you know, have a conversation. But outside of the camera, what I found that I really love is talking to people, understanding a little bit about what they're about. Sometimes it's minutes, sometimes it's days, but it's just that personal connection.
It's actually being in the present moment and getting to know that person.
Absolutely.
Straight away. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
How I see you is that you're very grounded. Number one, because you're almost always barefoot / in thongs. Doesn't matter where, on red carpets.
I'll own that. I'm good with that. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I don't know where the transition came, but finally now, if I go to whatever, an event in New York, it just said, I think if most other people arrive, they're like, oh, it's him. That's the one. Yeah.
He's Aussie.
Yeah, he doesn't know any better. So, yeah.
Yeah, very grounded, but then also very down to earth. But at the same time, you're constantly in environments which are high pressure, high energy, and very outcome driven. Come over here. So how do you actually stay grounded and clear before you have a shooting, but by yourself? Do you practice some breath work, or do you, I don't know, dance a little bit so you get into that energy? You know?
No, as I said, I'm that geeky, uncomfortable one that, like, you know, the personal dance wouldn't work. For me, one of my practices, without telling anybody, is there's two flat boards. They're called V-flats. It's like I use them for reflecting light, and they're just like tall boards, and you can make a corner with them. And I have them all over the studio because I need them for photography.
Yeah.
When no one's around, I'll walk into one of those where I can't see anything. I'm in there, and I just breathe for a little while. Sometimes just a few breaths is enough. But I find that if I'm doing this, if I'm feeling up here, I have to bring it down, and that's my way of bringing it down. It's kind of like cutting off the stimulation and breathing and just remembering we're not curing cancer, we're not saving the world, we're taking a photograph. And then I try to go back with a bit of that calmness.
Yeah, so actually bring it down. Just as most simple
just turn
things.
the dial down, yeah.
We're going to come now to your other project, Nomad Two Worlds. So tell us a little bit about this project. What are you doing? When did you start it? Because you're developing it now for almost over 2 decades.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about it.
So I grew up in Western Australia, and one of the most profound experiences for me, I was a suburban kid. You're a product of what you learn and what's around you most of the time.
Yeah.
And my dad, as a cop, he was stationed in the country, a place 1,500 kilometers from the city, which is called Derby, middle of nowhere. And that was my first, as a kid, I'd had contact with Aboriginal people in school, but having contact with Aboriginal people out in the country was a very different thing. So I saw both absolutely beautiful, and I saw also sort of social decay. Like there was both worlds.
Yeah.
The Two Worlds reference. And I was so immature and young, I couldn't really make sense of it. And as I was going through the world of photography in New York in the 90s, by the time I got to the year 2000, it's kind of a light bulb moment. I spent every second night I'd go out to some charity or foundation in support of it, you know, go to a dinner or go to whatever it may be. But it made me think about all these things. People are all trying to do something about something.
Yeah.
Could be child health, it could be food, meals for people, whatever it was. And I felt a bit overwhelmed about, oh shit, what am I doing? Like nothing. And then I had this light bulb. I said, first of all, I realized if everybody did something, all the stuff would get worked out. Doesn't matter if you thought it was fairly insignificant, but for me, I was like, I would love to understand the cultural conflict that I grew up in.
Yeah.
And then also understand what could we do to perhaps make some difference. So I began a study through the way I know, through a lens of, it wasn't just pure Indigenous culture, it was about modern culture and Indigenous culture and how the two might blend. And then I brought it together with music and scenes, and it evolved, got a lot of attention. And then eventually I went up back to Derby, where I'd come from. I went out to the Kimberley Ranges, and I went with people that are my friends today in the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
Olive Knight, the Clifton Bindery, and all these amazing people. And they took me through country and told me story, and I started to get more immersed. So eventually, through the medium I know, photography, I had a stupid idea. I went out to country, went out to outside of Derby actually, and I took a photograph that I'd taken and I gave it to an artist, an Aboriginal artist, and it was a picture of his country, just of the ground.
Yeah.
And he started to paint the story, and we created this, we call it a collaborative artwork. So then I started to take this to Aboriginal artists all over. That sort of kicked it off. I took the work and did an exhibition originally in New York, and we were able to raise money. And then from that, what we raised into that charity, we started to sponsor kids, mostly from remote places that come from really tough environments, to do something in the arts. Because I know how, for me, the arts was healing. You know, I felt like it heals me to do something creative. And so if a kid, one was he was a rapper, and now he has his own, he's a DJ, but also podcast and tell story. Artists that we've been able to collaborate with. So as of today, Nomad Two Worlds is a thriving foundation.
Yeah.
It has a major art collection that's been all, I'd say, to galleries in Berlin, in New York, in Los Angeles.
Wow.
People, you know, and through it I met amazing people, all these incredible people that came into it, and it thrives today. And we still use the funds to put into projects, particularly through the arts.
Yeah, beautiful. Because this whole work also involves a lot of deep cultural stories, what you just explained.
Yes.
Emotions.
Yes.
And responsibility.
Yeah.
How do you stay clear-minded and focused in those environments without becoming overwhelmed, emotionally overwhelmed or emotionally drained, if that actually happens to you?
Yeah. So usually when we're out, if I'm out bush or out of country with people, you're so absorbed by what's happening.
Yeah.
You just get into these beautiful rhythms. Campfire, going out to do something you wanted to do, go and find a location and shoot it. Mm-hmm. So you're sort of absorbed, but it's the being of it. You know, it's actually quite therapeutic. So I find I come out of those situations much more prepared for the commercial realities of the world.
Yeah.
And I also accept things aren't just all kumbaya and beautiful. But we live in a very tough world. Yeah. So a lot of the places that we have worked within and with the foundation, really tough. Redfern back in the mid-2000s over in Sydney had riots. It was a very tough place. But we found some of the most amazing people in there, kids that had all this creativity that was getting masked by anger. Mm-hmm. But we're like, give them a music outlet, give them a visual artistic outlet. And we worked together and I have to say, helped people, probably like me, just to find their way.
So are there any particular moments when you work with those communities that changed how you see people or your work, either from the Indigenous community or the cross-cultural connections?
I'd say in my mind's fantasy, I saw, you know, people that had culture in their life, when it's ancient culture, as just having a perfect life. And then I realized through becoming friends that we've got mutual challenges, you know, that we're all trying to get by. We're all trying to figure out where we sit, where we exist. And those people had amazing cultural depth and background, which gave them an anchor at tough times. Yeah. Something that I sensed. And it gave me a yearning to have that, you know. So when Olive Knight, an Aboriginal elder from Walmajari, Bardia country, gave me my skin name. Called me Jungler James.
Jungler James.
Jungler. Yeah.
What does it mean? Is that a well?
So you can get a skin name. If you're given a skin name, it puts you into a group. So now other that are Jungler, like Clifton Bindery, one of her sons, is now my brother. Oh. So we see each other and I'm like, brother. Okay. He's like, Jungler. Yeah. Jungler. He's like, hey, Jungler, come here. So yeah, it's but those things I find have meaning and power in life, you know, that can give you a great sense of connection, human connections. Totally human connection.
Yeah. How often do you go there? Do you see them these days?
Oh, I see lots of different people at different times. Yeah. Weekly. I wouldn't say go out back out country weekly, but we all live in the same world. Okay. Yeah, so we have communication and depends who and depends where, but I'm in touch with. The nomad world is pretty vast. So,
next question for you, Russell. How important is it, time in nature, movement, and following the presence practices to keep you grounded, to help you reset after big productions, big shootings, big events, and how important it is to make good decisions for you, for yourself, for your life, and also for your work?
So one of the things that I do, if I happen to be shooting by water anywhere, I just want to get in the water and just be underwater as long as I can hold my breath. That's a big reset for me. So I say the practices for me to bring it down after a lot has happened is to get in the water, try to swim, try to be underwater if I can. If I can't, I walk and I get upside down. So how important are those practices? For me, they're everything. I mean, I feel like a lot of people, I live up here a lot of the time and just got to try to keep it here, you know? And I feel like the good stuff happens when I'm about here, you know, the really good stuff. Yeah. But so often in this world, you're like, there's so much going on, you're zinging, you know, you're up here. So I just try to get it down and then at some point settle. And just walking and talking is a great way to accomplish that.
And having your feet barefoot in connection with nature.
I realized that early on. Every studio in New York accepted that I was bare feet. And it's just, whether it's concrete, sand, water, if you're on it, I feel more connected.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, beautiful. So now, if someone wants to create something meaningful, what would you recommend them to do? What would you say is very, very important for them to start or to practice? When they have a skill, what would you recommend them doing and following so that they can become successful in whatever they want to do?
That's a great question. So you'll hear a lot of times in life from people when they're older and they've done their thing, I followed my passion and then it worked out.
Yeah.
And that's not true.
Yeah.
99% of the time, what happens is you follow a lot of things, but when you find one that you can do and resonates, that's the one you tend to do. So for me, between metalwork, dog trainer, police officer, any one of them, sort of financial aside, if it had really worked. But photography, I felt it. I just really felt it. And I was like, this is the one I have to do. For me, I went in with a no plan B approach, meaning I didn't give myself a plan B option if it didn't work.
All in or nothing.
Yeah. However, but then I want to say to people, I contradict myself completely and say, but be flexible, because opportunity may be staring you in the face, like it was with me, with the cameras through all these points of my life. And it was like in my nearly 30 when I was like, the camera, when I think back, they were always there. That opportunity was always there. I always loved the visual.
Yeah.
It just took me some growing up to realize it.
Yeah. So now I've got a little game.
Okay.
It's nothing crazy.
Oh, okay.
You do 5
tequila
handstands.
No. Okay, good. Yeah.
After you downed 5 tequila shots. Wait.
Then you tend to think you can do that. Yeah.
No. It's just 5 rapid fire questions.
Yes.
So kind of like,
I'm terrible at this, but go right ahead.
this or that questions.
Yeah.
No, you'll be fine. All right. First question: calming energy of the ocean or big city energy?
Ocean, but take that into the city.
Okay, how is this possible?
Okay.
That's a good one.
You need to find the energy of the ocean and figure out how to keep that in your head and take it into the big city, or you're not going to make it.
That's a good one. I love that. Okay. Second, morning shoot or night shoot / sunrise or sunset shoot?
Sunset.
Why?
There's a feeling of closure. There's a feeling of capture, and then it goes into the night, which is peace and calm. Sunrise, do love them, but it's all about let's get going. Sunset, you're capturing all that energy. Everyone's at their peak, and then it's in the darkness and peace.
Nice view. Love that. Silence or music on set?
I like silence. All the talent loves music, so I learned to tune out the music.
Good. Yes. Alone time or surrounded by people?
Alone time.
Okay, so what has been your favorite shoot you've ever done, and why is that? Or let's say one out of many.
That's a very big question. I have so many moments where I feel it. Being underwater, filming and shooting, and then finding I had several absolute perfect moments you could never recreate, where the ocean was so settled, the water was so clear that I could see where I felt like miles. Oh, wow. And I was able to settle my whole self and my body and my bubbles and take just one click, and I knew it was just perfect.
Was that the ocean or a pool?
That was in an ocean. That was in the Caribbean Sea.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you shot a model? Or
I was there to shoot models, but I was out checking the water on this day, and it was a perfect day. No wind, but no current and no sediment. And I just went off the side of the boat into about 7 meters of water. Yeah. And I was able to get down with weights and let all the bubbles settle, and just took a picture. And I was like, I could never, no, I'm going to give you a better time.
Go for it.
I was in an island called Grand Bahama. Yeah. And I was doing a scout, and the locals took me to a cave I went into a cave, we put on scuba tanks, and we dived into what looked like a little shallow piece of water. But that piece of water, we didn't go down miles, but it travels for miles to the open sea. But I went down into this cave and it became a cathedral of stalagmites and stalactites.
Whoa.
And once my eyes adjusted, I was like, I couldn't believe I'd gone in this little window portal, and went in and just broke into this world. And there were snapper because there was ocean connection. It was incredible. I came out and talked to the crew. I was like, I can't tell you.
Yeah, you need to process that.
Exactly. It's like I have to process.
Wow, interesting. Yeah.
And I was part terrified as well.
Yeah.
So,
I bet. Okay. And then last questions. If you can think of one person right at this moment you loved having in front of the camera, who would you pick and why? Again, there's so many.
That's
one
like,
which just comes
it's
to
like
my mind.
ask me to choose between my favorite children.
I know, it's hard.
Very hard.
It's hard.
I love having in the front of the camera, and why? Oh boy, I'm going to pass. Because
yes, that's okay.
What I love is you have these moments where you connect with people and you feel they love what you're doing as much as you do.
Yeah.
And that should be every time, if we can get there.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do and sometimes you don't.
Yeah, totally. Okay, then I give you another question because I've got two more.
Because I got to pass. That's good.
Film camera or digital?
Good question. So on a purist level, I grew up on film.
Yeah.
At this point in my life, I'm going back to all my old film, pulling out Polaroids, and it's beautiful. But we have a way of changing reality.
Yeah.
Because film came with chemicals and bad things that were really destructive.
Yeah.
My hands used to be peeling from the time I spent in the bars. So digital has its possibilities.
Yes.
But as a purist, film.
Okay, cool. Thank you. That was it. That's all done.
Amazing.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate it,
Thank you
Russell.
very much.
Thank you.